Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Wadcast podcast. I'm your host, Eddie Ifft. I am the fittest comedian in the world. Maybe not. But I am the most talking about fitness comedian in the world. I don't know if there's a comedian in the world that talks about fitness more than me. I think I can go with that claim. Right now, you are listening to a podcast that we go down the road of CrossFit a lot. We talk about obstacle course racing. We talk about anything fitness, health, nutrition, anything that you can better yourself. Each and every week we do this. We do this with the help of you guys through sponsorship, through advertising. We have a Patreon. It is Wadcast Podcast at wadcastpodcast.com/Patreon or patreon.com/Wadcast Podcast. Each and every week we give away a Myopux and a leopard claw. The leopard claw I used hard this week. I went hard in the paint with the leopard claw on my elbows. I have tendinosis, and I am working with some physical therapists and fixing this. And I said, hey, I got this thing. It's like a grest, and it's a leopard claw. Should I use it? And the doctor was like, yeah, get on it. I can tell you, I have been doing so many different things to get rid of this tendinosis. Nothing is working. Guess what? The leopard claw has, I think I found the secret. So when you've got rehab problems, when you have injuries that are nagging that you can't get rid of, you know, these things that just hang around for a long time, kind of like a wife. And I'm just joking. I love my wife. But you get this like nagging. That was a hacky joke. I should punch myself in the face for that joke. But you get a nagging injury that you can't get rid of. Sometimes it just takes something different. You got to try a whole bunch of things. I've tried everything: lacrosse balls, Theraguns, electronic muscle stimulators, and I think I found the secret, which is the leopard claw. It's like a metal, like kind of like knife kind of thing, and you scrape. And I got into that area because I have to like kind of almost re-injure it to get the inflammation back there. These are great. We give one of these and a Myopux away we give the leopard paw to each and every person. Every week we give one away. This week's winner, Justin Earl. Congratulations, Justin Earl. You are the winner. Thank you for your $5 donation. That's all you got to do. You give $5 a month. You get, I know, you get 4 episodes. I'm supposed to be doing an extra episode. I got to get on that. I apologize. We'll pick those up. I'll do a whole bunch. For you guys. So anyways, that's what you do. You give $5. It's hard to do this show. I know you don't think so. If you saw the temper tantrum I just threw, I looked like my 2-year-old because there was so much shit not going right. The dog unplugged something, almost broke a light. I don't have a studio right now. I thought I was building a new studio. My wife just told me I'm not. It's not in the budget. So we got rid of the bus, which was my studio. Now I'm in a corner in my kitchen. I got to get a new studio. Have to get a new studio. Have to. It's killing me. It's really killing me that I don't have a studio because I have 2 little children that break in on me whenever I'm working. And luckily they're both at school right now. But anyway, we have an awesome episode. Again, I want to thank everyone that belongs to the Patreon that takes care of the show, makes it happen. Without you, I don't know what I'd do. I wouldn't do the show. So here's the deal. This episode, we talk to the head of the OCR Stars. When I say OCR, I mean obstacle course racing. Hunter McIntyre created an online event, kind of like the CrossFit Games, but for OCR people. It's very, very similar to the CrossFit Games, CrossFit Open, except it's got more running involved. So if you lean more towards running, this is your thing. I think it's $40 to sign up for this. It's a little more expensive than the CrossFit Games or CrossFit Open. However, this one you can win a Jeep. Yeah, brand new Jeep Renegade. So if you sign up, there's a good chance you're going to win it. Somebody's walking away with a Jeep Renegade that just signs up. You don't even have to win. Now, there are cash prizes if you're going to win, but how many of you are that elite? I don't know. If you feel like you are, jump in, OCRstars.com. Only a few more weeks to register, and then this thing goes off. And there's 3 workouts. That's just it. 3 workouts that you do, and you could qualify Or you could win. There's no qualifications. There's no like going to the next round. The next round, it's just boom. So get on that. You go to OCRstars.com for that. Hunter comes on the episode, and as always, we bust balls and have a good time. And, he's a great friend, so it's fun to talk to him. Here's the deal. Enjoy this episode. Sign up for OCR Stars. Lots of good things coming. Just until I got the bump in the road that I'm not building a new studio today. I thought we were going to have it shipped, and then these guys were going to build it in the backyard, and I had the contractors, everything. Studio ain't happening. Oh, well, it's not like I haven't had a lot of disappointments in my life, but you know what? I just pick myself up and keep going. So that's what I'm going to do. That's what you should do. Hope you've been enjoying the show. If you can't give any money, if you can't Patreon, I understand totally. But do me a favor. Go to iTunes, rate, review, and comment. I've had a lot of great guests. I'm working on getting Tia Claire Toomey on the show. Just had Justin Medeiros, had Rob Wolf. Maybe Greg Glassman someday. Maybe. But I don't have much to tell you other than I'll be in San Diego the 21st through the 24th, I believe. 22nd, 23rd, 24th. I'll be at La Jolla at the Comedy Store in San Diego. The week after that, I will be... Is that when I go? No, that's Halloween. I stay home and play with the children. I wanted to dress my kid as Chucky, and my wife wouldn't let me. Oh, yeah, I'm going to be on Thursday the 21st. It looks like I'm going to be at the Canyon Club, October 21st, the Canyon Club in Calabasas. So if anyone's around, wants to see that, that's going to be a good show. I'll be at the Dead Crow Comedy Club. That's Thursday. Oh, no, I'm going to be there the 5th and 6th of November. Then I go to Naples, Florida. COVID capital of the world, Florida. I'll be in Naples the 9th, 10th of November. Then I go to Key West. I just got contacted by a Key West gym, invited me out. Whole gym might be coming. That's going to be awesome. I love it when people bring a gym to my show, or I'll come to a show at your place. Just let me know. I'm going to be in Naples. Anybody in Naples? Contact me. Bring the whole gym. Thursday, November 18th, I'll be in Edmonton, Canada. Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. That's the 18th to 21st. Does anybody listen to this from Edmonton? Let me know. Are you out there? Edmonton, CrossFit? I've come to your CrossFit gym. It's right down the street from the hotel. And then Friday the 3rd. Oh, no. I'm sorry. Thursday the 2nd of December till Sunday the 5th of December. I'll be in Reno, Nevada at the Laugh Factory. Okay? Laugh Factory, Reno. And then I don't know where I am the week after that. I got to check. But I've got Scottsdale, Vancouver, Boston, all kinds of dates coming up. Check them out at eddieifft.com. What do you say we get this episode started with the one, the only, the most feminine man in fitness, Hunter McIntyre.
Go fuck yourself, Eddie Ifft.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Wadcast podcast. I'm going to leave that in the opening right there.
Why'd you do that?
Talking to the microphone. Just pretend like it's...
I'm going to talk into the microphone because Eddie's been spending 30 minutes trying to set up these wires, and if we don't start with my face wrapped around this microphone, we're never going to get started.
Okay, so, ladies and gentlemen, this is the Wadcast podcast. I am your host,
I'm
Eddie
your co-host at this point.
You're not the co-host. You're
I'm
not
the
even
co-host.
close to the co-host.
Malibu co-host. Thank you.
I reluctantly have my guest today, Hunter McIntyre, not because I ran out of guests. I actually have really good guests, if you have noticed. We went from having the winner of the CrossFit Games to this week we have the guy who sneaked into the CrossFit Games.
Snuck in.
Sneaked.
No. Snooked.
Anyway.
That's why your comedy career is not going so well.
Because I don't know proper English?
Yep.
I think it's sneaked. Snooked is a game you play in England. Snooker. Anyway, I have Hunter on this week because he's got to plug shit. And
no,
so
really, this is more about spending quality time with you.
We just spent quality time. We had lunch together. We don't need any more time together.
You really have to start us off on a rough patch.
It's not rough. It's just I knew you were going to attack, so I attack before I'm attacked.
I actually never start out in a hostile position. I'm more of like a slow burn kind of guy.
No, you attack.
Yeah, I do attack.
You always come out on an attack, and then people are like, you're one of those guys, you try to make me look bad.
I would never do that.
You do.
I'm extremely supportive.
You do. Like, even with my own kids.
No. You've trained your children to hate me. You've trained them. This all started, if you haven't heard this for the 15th time already, started because Eddie invited me to his daughter's 3rd birthday party. I don't know, as like a young 25-year-old guy, I was maybe 27 at the time, what to do at a 3-year-old's birthday party. So what I did was I was thrift shopping, and I was like, what am I going to get for this kid? And I found this big, ugly clown painting that was pretty demonic looking, I'm not going to lie. And I brought it as a gift. It was probably the most genuine gift, like actually thought out gift that was given that weekend. And since then, the daughters hated me. And what Eddie's done is just put logs on the fire. This probably could have died as soon as that weekend was over. But
the best is soccer. A buddy of mine was a former, like, really good soccer player, and he's been helping my daughter because she just started playing soccer. And she was having trouble attacking the ball. You know, she's faster than all the kids. She gets down the field, but she just doesn't go to the ball. And I said, I just can't get her to be aggressive to the ball. And he goes, get something that she doesn't like and tell her to pretend that that's the ball, and then she'll attack the ball. So I was like, Izzy, what do you want to pretend that the ball is that you don't like? And she goes, Hunter McIntyre's head. And so in the middle of the game, we have to yell to her, Hunter McIntyre's head, and she'll go dive in the pile and start kicking at the ball.
See, I am not going to lie. I take this as like a threat. Kind of a compliment.
Oh, okay.
It's kind of a compliment. I've made an impression on your daughter's life in the way that's going to come a positive outcome. When she's older, she'll be like, thank you, Hunter.
Well, now she's doing really well at soccer that all the other parents are like, who's this Hunter McIntyre guy that we have to get our kids to hate him so that they'll play soccer well?
Listen, this is an affluent community. If you guys want to throw an event, pay my appearance fee, I will show up, and all the kids can chase me with baseball bats, like a piñata or something like that.
I just got asked to MC a school event.
How does that feel?
Like a charity event. It's Malibu, so it's like, everyone's going to be there.
Yeah.
And it's kind of cool. It's like,
there are going to be kids there, though.
No, this is parents of fundraiser.
Oh, dude, crush that.
I can. I'm going to be in Reno. I always miss all the good shit being on the road.
You know what I just had? It was just like, this is kind of a different, more heartfelt note. I got the opportunity to go on this show called The Disruptor Network, and they did like a live filming, like a podcast like this. And I thought it was going to be mostly adults and like people that were more in the respective field of fitness or, motivational speaking, so on and so forth. Dude, it was a room full of high school kids, all guys. And they're all like 14 years old. And I was able to tell my story from like kind of like all the shit that I got in when I was younger.
Yeah.
And it was the first time I've ever been able to do that. And I was like, this was awesome. Like,
and
the
kid,
nice. And
that's
I was like, I can't tell if I'm being well received because the stories are hardcore.
Mm-hmm.
Like, obviously, I don't think a lot of people like to openly talk about, like, I was talking about some of the drug use and the rest that I had when I was their age. And it started at the age of like 14 when I started getting all this trouble. And by the end, like, they're like, we're going to hand out the mic and ask a couple questions. I thought I was going to maybe get like 1 or 2 questions from the adults to be polite. The kids, lightning, shot their hands up. Kids were passing the mic around multiple times. It was hitting them.
What kind of questions were they asking you?
I think for the most part, kids were just like really curious. Like, what would you tell yourself at our age if you could go back? Like, that was like one that continued to hit. They're like, what was like one of the hardest moments for you? What were some of the, like, they didn't ever ask me any details about like drugs or arrests or anything like that. Like, none of the nitty gritty.
They weren't like, what's your favorite drug? And how do I do it?
What's it like doing heroin? Like, that could have stopped the room and like been really awkward, but it was really impactful stuff, and the guys were a blast. And
well, having teenage nieces and nephews, I know that that's such a hard time. I look back on it, and you only think about all the good shit, like, oh, it was so much fun, and me and my friends, and we partied and we did this. But like, we started our partying at age about 14, 15. And you think about all the good times, but you don't think about all the struggle that you went through. at that age, like your hormones are going crazy. You're like attracted to girls. You can't get the girl you want. You can't get any of the girls you want. You think everybody else is doing better than you. There's no way to communicate with your friends. And luckily, these kids today do have the internet that they can go in and kind of source more material and find out like, oh, there's other kids like me. But it's a real struggle, and thank God for sports. I'm pushing my nephew right now. He's not a good athlete, and I'm pushing him really hard to get involved in sports because he just didn't have the opportunity to get in sports in New York City.
Well, that changed my life for sure. I think like mentorship, I didn't ever have somebody who was like a positive influence on me. That
Never?
No, not like that. I didn't have good people in my life, but it's nobody I really respected. Like I had my brothers. I'm like, you're cool and everything like that, but you're my brothers. Like we fight each other half the time, so it's like when to know, like to know when to listen to them and not to listen to them was kind of on the fringe. My father and I had like a very bad relationship when I was younger.
My dad. Yeah, we were. It was
now
tough.
Now we're best friends. My mom, who the hell wants to get advice from your mom when you're like trying to be like a young guy, starting to get hair on your nugs, growing up kind of guy. You don't want to be going around your mom. So I don't know. Like I had a really hard time going through that shit, and my coaches sucked. Sorry, guys, if you're listening to this, but,
What sports were you doing? You were wrestling?
Wrestling and running. Coach G, he just didn't know how to make an impact or even really know how to teach wrestling. And then our cross-country coach was like, I think he was stoned half the time, and he knew that we were just running into the woods and smoking pot and then rub our hands in the dirt and then come back in. You know what I mean? Like, that's all we did for cross-country practice.
Yeah, but sometimes, guys, think about who takes those jobs, because I had a high school ask me years ago to be a track coach. I would love to be a track coach and go and help the kids.
Money and time's crazy, though.
I don't have the time.
Yeah. No.
So who does this? A lot of times it's people that don't. Like, I couldn't even coach my kids' soccer team because I don't have the time.
I'll tell you, so a couple years ago in 2017, my buddy Jason Kahn, who you met, he had taken over the head coach position at Pepperdine. It was a club team, but still, pretty good program.
Lacrosse.
Yeah, lacrosse. And then I took the assistant coach spot on, like as a strength conditioning assistant coach. And I played lacrosse a bunch when I was younger. And dude, like putting the amount of time that we were trying to put into these kids and the shit that they were giving us back, I was like,
fuck you.
Yeah, exactly. I was like, I'll kill you. Like I'll never forget how upset I got with those guys. And it's like, I'm sure there's programs that, like, if you think about Oaks Christian and all these things where it's like super development programs, that would be awesome to get involved in. I can only imagine.
I look back on what I had at Pitt and what I took advantage of, and I'm like, what was I thinking? Like, even in college, I think my mind was totally about, like, girls and my status in school, and I'm thinking, like, if I could go back now, I would have worked out so much harder and worked like I didn't realize I had the opportunity to be on a Division I team where they provide you everything. I went to the training table twice.
What's the training table?
Like, they had a place for us to eat. Like, we didn't eat with the students. We ate, and there was, like, much better food and more food, and I would go to Wendy's.
You have to know, like, that's why I dropped out of college. So I had just come out of rehab, and then I got allowed in basically to this D3 school. I had like scholarships and all these things that were going to develop me to be like a D1 superstar, and obviously I got in all that trouble and lost it all. And then all of a sudden I got into this D3 school, and the amenities for that D3 program were dog shit. The athlete director didn't like me. The coach didn't like me. It was Rhode Island College.
Okay.
And Don Tencher, if you're listening to this, go fuck yourself. Sorry. He wasn't the worst guy in the world, but it wasn't like a program that they were like, it seemed like they cared to not. It was a D3 feeder school. Like, obviously you go there if you screwed up a bunch and then you try to get fed into another one. But I didn't like it at all. And then when you mentioned like you guys had your own separate feeding area, you guys probably had great coaches. You had probably had great training facilities. You probably had great
my strength
PT.
My strength and conditioning coach was Buddy Morris, who is now the head strength and conditioning coach at the Phoenix Cardinals.
We didn't have a strength and conditioning coach. We had one dumb coach that was like, you're going to move weights up and down for the next 45 minutes.
But I look back, and I was just inside. I would go to practice, and the coach would go, come on, practice. And I'd be like, I'm hurt. And he would go, okay, I need you down in the trainer's room. So I'd go down to the trainer's room, and they'd be like, what's going on? I'm like, I got really bad shin splints. And they'd be like, okay. So they would start all these treatments on me. And I was like going through treatment thinking, what an easy way to get out of practice.
Yep.
And then I would go to practice the next day and the coach would be like, why didn't you get to the pool? And I'm like, what? He's like, you weren't at your practice at the pool. And I'm like, no, I went to the trainers. And he's like, yeah, and then you got to go to practice. And I'm like, what? Well, then I found out not only did I have to go to the trainers, I had to go to the pool and they'd put a floating vest on me and I would run the workouts in the pool.
Yeah.
And I was like, these are harder.
Yeah. It's
a harder workout than it is on the track. So I was like, I'm not hurt anymore.
I'm fine. He's like, you're bleeding. He's like, no, I'm fine.
It was terrible. They'd be like, okay, yeah, you'd have this like waist belt on that would make you float. And they're like, all right, we're going to full sprint in the water for, 60 seconds, full sprint. And I'm like, okay. And like when track, you're going 85%.
Yeah.
In the pool, you can't get hurt. So they're like, go full sprint.
Yeah. And so that stuff's just like all like tendons. You're just like, snap, 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 snap.
And I remember I was friends with a couple of the swimmers. My fraternity had soccer players, swimmers, baseball, track. We were like everything, but football players weren't really allowed to join fraternities, and neither were basketball players. Or if the basketball players did, they were all black, and they joined the black fraternities. So I had a couple of fraternity brothers who were swimmers, and they're like doing swim practice, and they see me in the pool, like running in place, and they're like, "Oh, you douchebag!" I was like, "I'm never going back to this." I mean, I had to go a bunch of times. So whenever you're hurt, that's where you would end up. But it sucked. It sucked. That is a hard workout.
When I was in the best running shape of my life, I was training up for the 2017 Spartan Race World Championships. We were living in Durango. We were pumping out maybe 60 to 100 miles a week of running.
So is this a bunch of other top competitors?
Yep.
Do you like competing with guys, or do you like living with guys you're going to compete against?
So there's two guys. One guy that was not as great as us, but he was good.
Who's that?
I'm not going to share names.
Is that the guy that we always talk about?
No. I'm not going to share names otherwise. Whatever.
Who's the guy that I like that he's not like really good, but he's just like he's always around?
Talking about Benny?
Yeah.
Sweet Benny. No, Benny came with me to the other training camps. Whatever. So we had these guys together, and they were really, really high level. Like, we'd put workouts together, and we'd bury each other to the point where it's like, some people would drop out halfway through the workout. Like, I even would stop doing some of the workouts because you'd kill each other. Like, there was this one mountain called Hogsback that took just under 8 minutes to get to the top if you were fucking gunning it, and we do 8 rounds. And you'd come straight back, and you're at 8,000 feet in the sky in the direct sunlight. So you think about that, that's 64 minutes. It just was brutal. It was so brutal.
But it took a group of you to challenge each other like that.
Yeah, we'd kill each other back and forth.
Would you ever do that workout alone?
Probably not. When it comes to doing workouts like that and I'm by myself, I have to go on a treadmill or something like that because it's just so hard. And that's like why you see a lot of these super programs in CrossFit is just like they have all of these guys together. Like, it's so much easier to put 3 plates on the bar and then throw it over the head, and it's just crushing all of your bones, and it just hurts if there's somebody else who's going to do the next rep.
Did you hear who Medeiros works out with?
No.
Alone.
Yeah. In
a home gym. In a garage gym.
Yeah, there's some people like that.
I don't get it. I don't get how they can do it. I feel like I'm one half the athlete I was when I went to a CrossFit gym, because the CrossFit gym
might end up becoming a lot better. But then there's also some people that just have really hard psychological problems being around people, and that compounding pressure all the time, just like having to perform.
What's funny, I don't think Fraser worked out with people either.
And when I met him in training camp, he was there training with Tia every single day. And
I forget. What am I talking about? He and Tia did,
and that's good to have the opposite sex training against you, because it motivates you and it doesn't feel like crushing. And you can somehow psychologically be like, oh, well, her weights are lighter and she has to move less or something like that, or blah, blah, blah. But if you're going and you're against the other number one guy, like imagine him and Rich Froning trained every single session together, they'd both be dead.
Well, we know what happened when those two tried to train together.
I don't know enough information. But what I was leading to is we would do all these miles up in the mountains, and then the afternoon session often would be we would go to the rec center in Durango and we'd do the lazy river in reverse. And often these kids would see us running, and these little kids would just pile on our back, and we'd be driving like 4 or 5 kids through the water doing running sessions for like half an hour every single afternoon against the river. It was ridiculous.
Do you feel like you're training that hard now?
It's different. Like now that I'm doing Hyrox specifically, and then I'm doing.
Aren't you going to the Spartan World Championships?
Spartan Games. It's like their pitch on, it's their matchup to the Spartan CrossFit Games.
And so is this the 1 mile?
No, dude. You remember last year when I had to do those episodes that were on YouTube? I had to compete for like 3 or 4 days against all those people wrestling and tug of war and running.
And you ended up fucking up and losing.
Yeah, I did.
Is that going to happen again?
That's why I'm home here right now, because last time I'd fucked up and I had was like, okay, I've got all this gear. I'm just going to like expect that it's going to work out. And Spartan Race said that they were shipping me a wetsuit, and like I just thought that everything would work out with the gear that I had. And it's such a complex event. It's not like the CrossFit Games where they give you everything. Everyone has the same gear. Everyone has the same, everything is identical in the CrossFit Games. They have 150 outfits for the 150 athletes, blah, blah, blah. This... I'm not gonna lie. I love Spartan Race as a brand, but logistically, they're like a tenth of the brain cells of the company of CrossFit is logistically. So last year, we didn't even know what we were doing until like 4 days beforehand. So
would you say that that's because CrossFitters are nerdier and that Spartan people are more into like, hey, let's wing it?
No. It has nothing to do with that. It's because of the way that they derive their income. Spartan Race is a participant-based sport. Right. CrossFit is a fitness community, culture, mindset, methodology, education system, now a healthcare system.
So their main motivation is getting as many people out to race in this
Dude,
race.
I took out a piece of paper because I was having this conversation with somebody the other day, and I was like, this is why our sport is failing. And this is why I started OCR Stars to begin with, and not to be a pitch, but it's just the truth. There is literally 15 products that Spartan Race is developing and pushing right now, and then there is about 3 products. Like CrossFit has their gyms, their certifications, and the CrossFit like open, whatever semifinals CrossFit Games. That's like one ladder.
So affiliates,
but they only have 3 products that they're really pushing. They don't sell tons of things. They don't have tons of personal events. Spartan Race has the typical Spartan series. They have the Mountain series. They have the Championship series. They have a Gogi, which is their 24-hour one. They have the Death Race. They have the Hurricane Heats. They have now the Ruck Race. They have the Ultra series. They have so many fucking things, and their staff is only like 10. And whereas CrossFit may have the same amount of staff, I don't know, but
so theirs is more about let's set up these events, people show up and they pay a lot of money, and we get as many people as possible to sign up. And
as many as possible. And logistically, their company just doesn't have their shit together. Just doesn't. I've watched it for so many years. I left Spartan Race years ago because I just didn't feel like I was ever going to develop fully underneath the umbrella that was Spartan Race.
Is that, who's the owner of that?
Joe DeSena. I think that man's like absolutely brilliant. I respect him to the umpteenth degree. But
so he's killing it financially, though, isn't he?
He's a super smart guy. But you have to understand, like, that's one facet of who he is. He does fly the banner of Spartan Race really, really high, but he was successful independently before that. But he also like owns a town in Vermont.
What did he do before that?
He was in finance.
Okay.
He talks about his business, about how he started a pool business when he was a young kid, and then so he could fund himself going to Cornell, and then all of a sudden he sold his pool business, then he got into finance and blah, blah, blah. But in reality, the guy's a genius, and I don't necessarily say that he has anything to do with logistic nightmare that the company is, but
what's the difference between Spartan and Tough Mudder?
Well, Spartan Race was the competitive version of the mud running series, and Tough Mudder was the non-competitive experiential version. And then Tough Mudder started to get into the competitive series, and that's how I started to really make a big amount of income in OCR. And then all of a sudden, they collapsed it.
So they don't do the competitor version.
They are just going to bring it back this year for the first time in years with World's Toughest Mudder, which is a 24-hour race.
Are you going to do it?
I don't think so. Like, I love the idea of it, but I have to stay in my lane. Like, I've recognized this year, during COVID, I allowed myself to do so many different things that I kind of lost track of, like, being really great at a few things.
And I just imagine 24 hours would wear on you, like, physically.
Dude, it's so much fun. It's the Burning Man of endurance events.
Really?
It's sick.
Explain.
So it's only a 5-mile course, and which to some people will be like, oh my God, but to endurance athletes, 5 miles is very approachable. And
what's that going to take you to get around that?
I mean, without the obstacles, it's like 30-something minutes.
But with the obstacles, like an hour?
Yep. And there's 25 obstacles, and it's it's 26 hours the event truly is, because like they give you this extra grace period of 2 hours at the end, but you come into this pit area and there's all these tents and like you have crew teams and people are hanging out, drinking beer, setting shit up, and there's music going on. So like there's a festival area of all the people that are prepping, and also you can relax in there if you're tired of running, and then you go back out there and you go to war. And the experience of doing it during the day and an evening is totally different, and you like change into wetsuits. It's just, you work as a team. So like there's some obstacles that are so huge, like I couldn't really get up on my own, so I have to get you on my shoulders, and then you help pull me up, and it's just epic.
And so can you do it as an individual, or like
Yeah,
competitors?
definitely. People do it as individuals. Like
Then
Ryan Atkins, my buddy, he
Then
does
how do you get over these obstacles if it requires
Well,
teammates?
there's so many people on course, you're going to be able to get up. Like you could get over every obstacle by yourself, but it is a lot of work. Like there's some sections where it's just almost impossible.
So some people do 24 hours by themselves, the whole thing.
Ryan Atkins just never stops. He's a freaking animal. He's the Canadian Wolverine.
Now, how does he do in the individual races against you, like the shorter version?
Really good. He's probably the most competitive person in recent history.
So he beats you.
As of now, yeah.
Does that bother you?
It did when I competed against him. Like he and I would go 1-1 for the majority of them, and he was better at long distance. I was better at short distance. But then all of a sudden I switched out, and I have like other priorities, which is the Hyrox stuff.
Does he get hot chicks?
He's been married to a really good-looking woman for a long time.
But he doesn't slay dragons like you do.
No, doesn't have time for that.
Okay.
Dude, he's just like he's like a typical Canadian. Like he's tough as nails,
yeah, they all
and
are.
extremely polite, and just like I'm like, God, it's annoying. Like
I try to tell people that when I drop in at CrossFit gyms, when I go to Canada, I have to be like prepared because which dog's barking? That's Harlow. When I go to CrossFit gyms in Canada, the workouts are like 3 times harder, and everyone lifts 3 times. And I'm like, why are they not
universal healthcare?
Why are they not the top CrossFitters in the world?
Because some don't have that competitive juices flowing.
Maybe that's it.
Like, have you ever seen
Hold on
a
one
pro?
second. Hold on. I'm going to make that dog stop barking. I don't know why she's doing it.
Hi guys, it's just me.
You want out here? You can come out here.
What's she yipping about?
No, she just wanted to be with us.
That's why cats are better.
Now the other one's up. That's the problem with having 3 dogs.
Cats, people.
Yeah,
Cats.
so the Canadians,
Other
it's a
than
good
George
point.
St. Pierre, though, there's not really been any professional fighters out of Canada. They just don't have like aggressive blood in their body. They're all super athletes, but I just don't know why.
They are super athletes. They have this. There are towns up there. Like I was just watching mountain bike, Red Bull Rampage, and all these girls that are so good at mountain biking are all from like Revelstoke and Nelson.
It's like BC.
Yeah. Oh, it's Alberta, I believe. But
Alberta.
But it's up in the Rockies, the Canadian Rockies, and it's just like it seems like everyone from there, like, you know, you go, hey, go take your bike and hike up the top of this mountain and come down 100 miles an hour, and they're like, oh, okay, you know, like it's okay.
That's just life.
I'll see you up there. They're tougher. And I don't know why. I don't know. Maybe it's just in America we have so many people. We have 325 million people, and you just get this percentage of like elite stars.
Well, they don't have as many sports as us. They develop hockey a ton. They probably develop a bunch of their winter sports much more than we do, but they don't have the development system in so many different sports like we do. Like I look at sports as in like how many, like if you had 100 athletes to really pull from, where would they go to in your community? Majority here, if you put 100 athletes out there and you'd be like, hey guys, you have to all go pick your direction, there'd be like 2 people in the pool, 20 people on the soccer field, 20 people in basketball, 20 people in football, 20 people in baseball, like 10 on track and field.
We were talking about this recently, and somebody said, I think there's stats to it, where I could be just making this up. Something like the best athletes go towards football. Football initially. Some people say basketball players are better athletes, but football is like the primarily, because in America we spend the most amount of money on football, so it gets all the focus. Like if you look at NFL football, Then you've got basketball. Then you've got baseball. There's like tiers almost. There's football, baseball, basketball, and then underneath each of those, during those seasons, there's other tiers of sports. Like in America, it goes football, then soccer. In the rest of the world, soccer is number one.
I went to an Arsenal versus Tottenham game when I was in London, and it was the craziest thing I've ever experienced in my entire life as far as sports went. Like,
I have a great Arsenal story.
Dude, tens of thousands of people there chanting these crazy chants. The away team has this small section, and it is armies of people in red looking at us all the time, chanting and cheering. No one's even fucking paying attention to the soccer game.
No.
Just screaming. Security guards lining every single section.
Yeah, because you know about soccer hooliganism.
Well, dude, it was crazy. And they're screaming over the security guards, between the security guards at our section, and the security guards are doing nothing. Nothing. Like, it was almost as if they were inanimate objects just to stand in between. And everyone's screaming at each other, throwing shit.
So when I lived in England, Arsenal won the FA Cup, which is like the Super Bowl or something. And that day, they had a parade, the parade to celebrate, like the Yankee parade or
Did they
whatever.
kill people?
Almost. I almost got killed. I was walking to go to a show, like early in the day. I had to take a long train ride to get to where my gig was somewhere in England. And I went down this alley, and there were people just everywhere, all over. They'd been drinking all day long. And these three geezers, as they call them, kind of like old guys. This is, I was young, and they were probably like my age now. But old drunk guys come up to me, like I'm in an alley. I'm kind of like covered by them. And like there's no way out. Like I got to go past them, and it's a very tight alley. And they said to me, it's like a walking alley. It's not even for cars. And the guys go, "Hey, mate, we're fucking, blah, blah, blah." And in my head, I thought, I had already had a problem earlier that day with a guy like shouldered me, and then a guy like stared at me. Like they were just so drunk and obnoxious that I knew, like, just don't fuck with these soccer fans. And the guy goes, "Mate, we're fucking rise." And I'm like, I don't want them to hear my accent. I don't want to talk to these guys just because they just seem so rough and so, when you run into like a bad crowd, I just knew. And I go, I put my head down and I went, "No, I don't know." And he goes, "Are you a fucking Yank?" And he just hit me right there, like hit me like across the shoulder and like to just like fuck with me. And I realized at that second, I'm like, I'm about to get just jumped. Like these three guys are just going to beat the shit out of me for no reason. Like just drunken and just because I had an American accent. And so I sucker punched the guy in the face and sprinted back from where I came and just ran up the hill and I was sprinting, and I knew at the time, I'm like, they're like fat old, like they looked like
And they're wasted.
Kind of blue collar worker type guys that probably eat meat pies all day long, and there's no way they're going to catch me. So I'm looking over my shoulder to see how far behind, and the guy I hit's not chasing me. The other guy's chasing me, and he's yelling, screaming, and I do that thing where you slow down, speed up, so that he keeps feeling like he might catch me.
Yeah.
And I was training for a marathon at the time, and I kept thinking, there's no way if I slow down enough, this guy, if I keep this pace, will ever catch me. And how long is this guy going to chase me? We're going up a hill, and this is all going through my head in a matter of like seconds. And so I run to the top of the block, about a block, so probably like 100 meters, 200 meters, 100 meters, not far, but far for him. And he's sprinting, like going as fast as he can, and I'm kind of like jogging. And he stops and puts his hands on his knees. And
that's when you had him.
I went back and just, I am proud of it.
You knocked him?
I took care of business. And the other guys are like down at the bottom of the hill, and I see them. In my head, I was screaming, because I was so much adrenaline, like in fear, like that they were going to like originally like beat me up. Like they started like, so I run to the top of the hill, I do this, and then I remember seeing them kind of come up, and in my head I thought, I'm eventually gonna lose. like when they get to me, like if these two get up here, you can't beat up 3 people.
Yeah.
Like 1-on-1, I could probably do well with any of them, but 3-on-1, they're gonna kill me. And have you ever seen these fights that like they start, they keep going, and it like changes. Like this guy's doing, now this guy's doing. I kind of was like, knew that eventually I would lose.
She's ran?
I fucking took off down this other, like I crested the hill, ran down the hill, started to go down into the tube station, and realized if I go down to the tube and a train doesn't come, they've got me cornered.
Yeah.
And I'm going to, they could kill me. Like I could die. So I came back up the step, like I'd just gone down a little bit. I come back up and I decide to run the whole way to the next tube station. And I had so much adrenaline, I just ran to the next tube stop, and I was like, they'll never find me now. Like I ran for, like I just kept up like a 7.5 minute mile pace, just jogging to the next train station, probably like a mile or something.
For a peaceful culture, it's a turbulent time whenever those soccer games are on. Like I was alarmed.
It was scary.
Yeah, it was. It was really like it was scary, and like the people around me seemed to be so calm. I was like, "What the?"
Have you ever felt that at a football game in America?
I went to probably 3 years ago, 2018. I went to the Patriots versus the Jets game. I didn't feel like I was at risk at any time, but I watched 3 independent fist fights where the cops came in and took those people out.
I went to a Raiders-Steelers game once, and everybody said the Raiders fans are like the worst human beings in the world.
Yeah.
And I even sat in the Raiders section because one of the Raiders players gave us tickets when I used to be on San Francisco radio. And they were pleasant. I went to the tailgate party, and I was wearing like a Steeler hat, and no one fucked with me. No one did anything.
I don't know why it's so different. I don't understand. Like, I've never seen anything like that. I've traveled. I lived in Spain, and I went to games. I just have seen a bunch of different sports around the world, but there was nothing like this.
When I was in Dubai one time, I was performing with a guy named Eddie Brimson. And Eddie Brimson he wrote the book Away We Go, which is a really good book on soccer hooliganism, like the best there is. And he was a soccer hooligan, he and his brother. And his brother wrote the movie Green Street Gang with Toby.
Green Street Hooligan.
Green Street Hooligan.
That's a really good movie. And I've been trying to buy it. You cannot buy it on Netflix. You can't buy it on Apple Movies. You can't buy it anywhere.
So that was based on their series of books. So Eddie was opening, and it was me I was featuring, and Glenn Wool was headlining. Glenn Wool's a great Canadian comedian, amazing. But this particular night in Dubai, the audience is all expats, British. Glenn was shit-faced. I was shit-faced. We had been like partying all day long. The show wasn't going well, and I kind of struggled through my set. Glenn's bombing, and Glenn's a great, great, great comedian, like one of the best in the world. Glenn's having a hard time. After the show, we go have dinner next door at some restaurant in Dubai. We're sitting there, and a guy who'd been heckling our show comes over, and he's like, "Oh, it's fucking you," and he's like, "Hey," and he goes to Eddie, or he goes to me, he goes, "Hey, you aren't fucking bad," and he goes, looks at Glenn, he goes, "You fucking suck," he goes, "You were fucking terrible, mate," and Glenn just goes, "Mate, I'm having dinner, please leave me alone." And he goes, "Fuck you. Give me my money back. Fucking tell me a joke. Make me fucking laugh. Because you didn't make me laugh at all." And Glenn stands up and screams in his face. He goes, "I warned you. Get the fuck out of here right now." And the guy pulls his fist back to just clock Glenn. And I'm not joking, within a millisecond, that guy was on the fucking ground. And I was like, and I look, and Eddie Brimson is holding his wrist, holding his hand, and standing on his neck. He's got one foot on his neck. And I'm like, what just happened? And I grab the guy's legs because he's kicking. We get the bouncers. They take him out. And I was like, what Steven Seagal shit did you just do to that man? And he's like, he's a very peaceful, nice, he's a very funny comedian, Eddie. And Eddie goes, "Dude, I don't do this anymore. Please don't tell anyone about this." And I'm like, you just saved Glenn's life. That was incredible. And he's got a stab wound and a gunshot wound from when he was a hooligan. He's like, "I don't want anyone to know this." And
Can you not get away with that shit in Dubai? Like,
well,
are you
so,
like getting huge trouble?
I've had a lot of trouble in Dubai. That's a whole other story. But he showed me after what he did. When the guy threw the punch, he blocked the punch, grabbed the guy's wrist, like hand and wrist, twisted it, put one foot. This is all in conjunction. This isn't like step, step, step. Grabs the wrist, 1 foot behind the guy's leg, and just tipped his chin with his other hand. Pushed up on his chin. He said if you push on someone's chin, they lose balance if their head goes up. And because he's got a leg behind him, he just dropped to the ground while he's holding his hand twists, and now he's got all that pressure on his arm. And the guy's laying on the ground. So if the guy goes to move, he just breaks his arm. So then he put a foot on his neck, on his throat. So the guy can't move because he's either, whatever way he's moving, he's going to break his head or get more pressure on his throat. And I was like, dude, that's the first time I've ever seen someone with martial arts work.
This is where Krav Maga was invented.
I think he took a lot of Krav Maga. And I go, dude, that was fucking out of this world. So I saw him a few years ago in Australia. That was like 15 years ago. And it was funny because he didn't want anyone to know about it. He was so nervous about people knowing because he was a new comedian at the time. And he didn't want to like keep the soccer hooliganism thing going. And I saw him like just a year ago, 15 years later. And I'm like, Eddie. And he's like, Eddie. And I'm like, what's up, dude? I haven't seen you since that time you like beat the fuck out of that guy. And he goes, and all these other comedians there at the festival, he goes, yeah, if I could tell them. He's like, tell him what I did. Tell him. And I'm like, I'll tell it. I've been telling everybody even though you told me not to. And it was awesome. Dubai, very scary in many, many different ways of like the trouble we got in. We did a lot of heavy drinking and I saw people use drugs.
You're not supposed to.
You'll go to jail forever for drugs. Forever. Forever and ever.
I wonder even who's got the guts to bring that stuff in there because I just don't even know why.
I was at a party where everybody was doing cocaine and I was like, let's get the fuck out of here right now.
And you hear so many like dirty sadistic stories about that community of just like the high rollers and
the prostitutes that are there.
And it's just like, it's amazing how it's such a high level crime to do any of that kind of stuff, but then it's like really well known. It's kind of like the Vegas of the Middle East.
It's a Muslim country and you can go to the beach and see a hooker wearing a bikini cooking a hot dog, and drinking alcohol.
For some reason, if you look at any of the Instagram influencers that have that kind of flavor to their pages, they all seem to visit Dubai a very frequent amount.
Well, the prostitutes are like $50.
What?
And they're like $50 and they're all over the place. Like every bar you go into is filled with prostitutes.
I went down to the Reeperbahn when I was in Germany, which is basically the red light district there. It's the biggest one in all of Europe, if not the world. And I didn't know about this until like the third night that we were there and someone brought us to the actual street. But it's basically, there's sex clubs and strip clubs everywhere you go and like restaurants out on the street. It's very normal and street performers and stuff. It's a blast. And then all of a sudden, we went to this really, really nice Italian restaurant. It was awesome, beautiful art, great dinner. And then all of a sudden, I didn't even know where the heck we were. He's like, have you been to the Reeperbahn yet? And I was like, yeah, we've been going around for the past 3 days. He's like, no, he's like, this area. And there's these steel slated walls. Like you can't even see in. It's like a panel here and then in the panel so you can come around the corner and slide in. And then you go in and it's just a row of probably 10 buildings on each side with floor to ceiling windows like this with girls in them and they can open up the doors and stuff.
That's how Amsterdam is.
It's fucking creepy.
Yeah.
Like I was like, this is gonna be fucking awesome. This is gonna be so cool.
No, it's
and they're
dark.
heckling. They're
it's
like, hey, come on, no, don't go. And it's just like,
it's dark.
God,
it's dark and spooky.
It wasn't sexy at all. I was like, I wanted this to be like somewhat sexy and like fun, like a Euro trip kind of thing, where it seems like it's like this is gonna be the greatest night of my life. Like it's so nasty. It wasn't. I was put off. Like I would have to be blitzed to make that fun.
I one time had a girlfriend, a British girlfriend that I was dating for a while, and we were in Amsterdam, and we were walking through the red light district one night.
Did you get heckled by the girls?
Yeah, and so I was going up to each girl at each window and kind of having like just for a joke, and I'd be like, "Hey, how much?" And they're like, I forget what the going rate was. It was like, I think it was like 50 for oral, 100 for sex or something. And they'd go, they'd tell us and then I'd go, how much for her? Like her and I. And they'd go, just double it, like. And so then each place I went, I would get more and more. I'm like, how much for, I want to cover myself in chocolate and I want you guys to, and I was just coming up with these like crazy scenarios to see how much they would charge me. And it's unionized and they have like a set fee because they're in a union. They can't like charge. So they kept like giving me these prices. And I'm just making the girl laugh that I'm dating, and I'm coming up with all these different elaborate concoctions of what I'm going to do with these girls. And this one girl I just walk up to, I go, how much? I just want to come in and cry. I just want to lie down and cry. And she goes, go away. You're weird.
Dude, the girls aren't even allowed in this area. If you go in there, they'll throw buckets of piss on you, supposedly.
Come on.
Swear to God. It's like, it's super frowned upon because like, it's just like, it's considered the culture there of just like, this is the men's only section.
Ew.
Come in here.
That makes it even scarier.
The whole thing was fucking weird. It really was weird. And it was just like.
Well, Germans are known to be sexually weird too.
I've been going over to Germany a bunch now to go compete in Hyrox. Like I'll go over there in November for my third time to compete, and like the culture, they're actually the nicest people.
Yeah,
ever.
but they have some weird German porn
Yeah,
and
I don't know.
Japanese
I
porn.
never really understood that whole German porn
And then
thing.
the Belgians are the weirdest. Like something I read this in a book called Rogue Economics, so don't quote me on it. Like don't go. You don't know. They said something like child pornography's a $54 billion industry.
No,
And
it's got to be higher than that.
This is what it said in the book, and it's probably a 10, 15-year-old book written by an Italian economist. And 54 billion, I remember. It's more than professional football, baseball, and basketball combined.
Of course. Think about it.
Yeah. Okay, so then...
We all have one thing as men in common.
I used to do a joke about it. I go, not everyone can skate, but everyone can jerk off.
That's what I'm saying. Yeah, we all have one thing in common.
So the child pornography is like a $5 billion industry. And most of it comes from Germany and Belgium. And to me, it just says something about their culture. It's like...
I'm not going to justify anything, but dude, if you go around the world, there's just like such different cultures. Like over there, if you go over there, like the younger kids in the household are drinking at the table. Like you just wouldn't do anything. And like, I'm not trying to say that it makes anything, legal over there for that kind of action, but just culturally, they're just totally different from here.
Well, they would, we were in Italy and kids were drinking alcohol at the table with us, wine. And I was like, you're allowed to do that? And they're like, yeah. And I was like, do you just get wasted? And they're like, why would I do that? And I was like, they're so mature about it that it's like, oh, it's a really good, we make wine. Wine's our thing, and we enjoy drinking it, and we don't get wasted. And then they look at us like, oh, look at college fraternity parties where guys are
idiots.
And they're like, you fucking idiots.
Every night that I was there, like, the host's kids were there, and they were old enough to drink, and they never got drunk, and I was getting wasted every night. I was just like, the fuck am I? What's wrong with me? God, I hate myself.
Who did you stay with?
The owner of Hyrox. Like, I have to get him on this podcast. He's the most interesting man in the world. Like,
really?
The most
Why?
Interesting man in the world. Because he used to own 50% share of the soccer team there. He's like super big into sports. Like anything about sports culture, he has been, in Europe at least, a massive part. He put on the Hamburg Marathon, the triathlons, the bike races. He was part of Ironman. Now he has this. He owned the rights to the soccer team over there for all the merchandise and stuff. He had a huge sports marketing company. He started a testing company during COVID to help put on these events, but then realized he could all of a sudden then sell it to businesses over there so that they could have their employees come into work and do meetings and stuff and travel. He just always seems to be doing something fascinating, and he travels the whole world, and he's very, very fun. Like I'm absolutely head over heels.
And he's a German guy.
Yeah, he's a blast.
I think they've asked to have him on, and I just haven't gotten around to it.
There's not one person in the entire industry that I've met in a position of his that is anywhere near interesting.
Oh, wow.
Like if I could sit down at the table and you said,
you know what,
sit
maybe
down with,
I've got to go to Austria in March and April to do a couple comedy festivals in the Alps.
Yep.
And maybe I'll go see him then.
When are you going?
End of March, beginning of April.
Okay. Yeah, I think you guys should connect. Because like one thing that I've noticed about him is like there's these two parallels. Like Joe DeSena, who founded Spartan Race, goes to bed at 8 p.m., wakes up at like 3 to 4 a.m., and like lives this like stoic lifestyle. Christian is doing the same exact thing, running big businesses, but goes out like after our races, he's the last person to leave the table.
Wow.
He is just he's a beast, and he keeps great energy the whole time.
Does he get up early?
No, but if he has to wake up early, he's boom.
I find it hard to perform well without sleeping. These people that sleep 3 hours a night, I'm like,
I don't understand how he does it, dude. He doesn't skip a beat though. Like I remember we were out having dinners, and like I went to bed early that night, and I think they probably stayed up until midnight or 1 a.m. having wine with the whole group, and then we had to film the next day at 9 a.m. He was in the office at 7, and then was filming workouts with me and the CrossFit Games athlete, the fittest in Germany. Joshua Winthrop that next day, and he was actually crushing some of the events.
Like Joshua was, or the owner?
The owner.
Oh, is he a good athlete?
You wouldn't think it. It's not like he doesn't look like he's athletic. It just does. You wouldn't think, hey, we're doing a sled push contest, and he's only a couple seconds behind Joshua, and maybe 5 seconds behind me, and beats this other guy, Megita, who we compete against.
What happened in the Hyrox? Why did you lose?
I just didn't train.
Really?
So I was training for the marathon that I was going to set the world record on for 200 pounds. Everybody should know that. And
are you still training for that?
I just got back into like running capability. I think I told you I had like a hamstring impingement, which is called piriformis syndrome. And basically, I injured myself, and I started lifting weights. I got up to 215 pounds almost this summer of just creatine, bench press, riding bicycles on the beach, and I went and visited my family for all of August and just didn't train like I normally do. Like, you know me, whenever I go to set for training, I go up to training camp and I disappear for like 2 or 3 months. And anybody who really wants to be the best at anything, like truly has to like push all this stuff off the table, have your slate clean so you can perfectly train. And then literally 2 weeks later, I was upset with myself. So I fasted and I lost 10 pounds and I set the world record for doubles. So it's a mindset more than anything.
Who was your teammate for doubles?
Tom Hogan, the toughest in Ireland. I love Tom Hogan. He's your age. Tom Hogan's 42.
Or
he's 40. And he's a beast. Literally just a fucking engine, tough Irish guy, 4 kids.
I think that's about the end of when you could be a beast.
No, dude.
Age.
No. There's a 42-year-old that competes in our sport. There's a couple 40-year-olds in our sport.
That's what I'm saying. That's the end.
No, I think there's a lot of guys that can push very hard to 45. Very, very, very hard.
I'm going to do a special episode on all the old people in sports, like Jaromir Jagr, who played in the NHL at 49. 48. Well, he played every game.
I'm just going to list out some people that I know that are over 40. Tom Brady.
How old's Tom Brady now?
I think he's 42.
Yeah.
Drew Brees maybe just hit 40.
But that's what I'm saying. This is the end for them.
Yeah, it's the end, but it's still insane.
You're not going to show me a 50-year-old NFL player. You're not going to Kelly Slater's the most impressive. He's turning 50 this year, and he was 15th in the world this year, but that's because he only went to half the competitions.
Listen, I'm not going to give Kelly Slater's the most impressive athlete in over 40. I'm sorry, but you surfing, which is extremely cool, doesn't even come close to being on the field with a bunch of people that weigh over 300 pounds, and there's 16 moving pieces versus a wave and you on a board. It's not even close.
I don't know. When it comes to there's big wave.
2 dynamics, water and you. 2 dynamics, that's it. It's 2 variables. Give me any other variables. Come on, hit me here. I'm ready. Any more?
It's just there's so much.
There's so much water.
But the dynamics can be so different every time.
The wave still. And then you have, let's see here, your entire line, their entire line. Everybody has an independent brain.
Wait. You don't think Tom Brady's pretty protected by the officials?
No, not at all. Dude, listen. You can say whatever you want. There's nothing more fascinating than the fact that that person has beaten that many people that many times.
No, don't get me wrong. The guy is the greatest to ever play the sport.
Yeah.
But my point is, I don't think he's playing the same sport that some of the guys played years ago.
Sure, but you can't knock people.
You're not allowed to hit a quarterback anymore the way.
But he's also smart. I was literally just when I was sitting and playing with your dog, I was just watching this piece. He's so good at holding on to the ball and then finding a piece of grass in front of him and lays down on it before anybody can even touch him. He's just smart.
Yeah, sure.
Then all of a sudden you have these morons, not morons.
He's the Michael Jordan.
Undereducated, just an inexperience athletes in the NFL that maybe are there in their first 5 years, first couple years, that just don't understand that getting on the ground as soon as possible is your best asset.
Yeah.
Because what the heck? Let's say you get 3 extra yards. If you get a concussion or
Harlow, come here.
a big
Come here,
bruise,
Harlow.
you're done.
Harlow, come here. Stop your whining.
That's why everyone should get cats.
Cats are terrible. Dogs are the best. How athletic is my dog?
It's pretty badass. Not as athletic as my cat, though.
When did you get a cat?
We have these 2 ranch cats that are just meant to kill all the mice up there because they just destroy everything.
How are they still alive with all the mountain lions? And
I think one of them might be missing right now, to be honest, but I've traveled so much I don't really know.
you know, a mountain lion attacked a kid here.
Kid probably had it coming.
No, don't say that. Did you hear about it?
Yeah.
Happened about the end of this street.
I feel terrible about the kid thing, but then I also, like, you got to really look at the situation we're in. Look where we're sitting right now.
I know, but it's one of those things that
You never want it to happen to your kid.
if
You and I had the same thing.
If you look at it statistically, it doesn't really ever happen. It happens so infrequently. It's
Think about
such
how
a
many
random
people
event.
how many mountain lions have died in the past 30 years versus how many people that have even been attacked.
Well, there's way more dog attacks. Like
Dog
dogs
attacking
kill
kids?
people. Dogs attacking kids and killing them way more.
I know.
Way more than a mountain lion. But it's just to think about it that it could happen at any moment. It's like a shark attack. They're so infrequent, but every time you're in
It's
the
the
water.
unknown. It's scary.
So when I walk around here at night, this happened in the middle of the day.
So can I tell you something that I did during COVID?
Huh.
And I didn't act on it yet, but there was all these bobcats. So like I think just because there was less traffic and there was lots of vegetation and there was tons of bunny rabbits this last year. I don't know if you noticed that.
Yeah, tons. Because the
Bobcats-
coyotes are gone.
Yeah, bobcats are through the roof up at our property.
Oh, really?
And a bunch of mountain lions showed up on our property. So I bought this thing online called Cat Collector, and it's basically like cat cum, pee, and shit like in a jar, and it's like in a paste, and it like drives them nuts. And I got myself a cage, and I was going to plan on trying to trap one of them because I was like, this is my one chance of being able to try to capture one of these things as a pet. And there's a lot of kittens, like little ones, going around, and didn't end up doing it, but kind of want to.
Where do you see them? Where do the bobcats go?
They always kind of hang out.
Noosa,
Like if this is a big field, they always just sit on the rim of the field, and they just wait for a bunny rabbit to kind of come out. And
That's
like
hilarious.
literally, you see it happen. Like
They're so pretty.
Yeah, the speed that they come in with, it's impossible for the bunny rabbit to get to the edge before whatchamacallit.
Do you have a video of one?
No, I'm just making sure my friend doesn't show up at the house.
All right. Well, let's see. So you're not doing the marathon, or are you?
No, I am. I just have to. I wanted to like be healthy.
Which marathon will you do it in?
Well, I don't know. So my original plan was to go race Hyrox over in Europe and then go to the Berlin Marathon on September 25th. So I was going to go September 9th was World Championship. September 11th was World Championships for Hyrox. And then it was September 25th was the Berlin Marathon. And it was like a perfect setup. And then I got hurt first week of July and just kind of got a shitty summer. And I'm just like, I'll show you my Strava. I just started to get up to the point where I'm like 20 miles a week comfortably again. To be in like really optimal peak marathon shape, I got to be at like 60 miles.
Ugh.
And so I'll probably be able to get up to that point by maybe February or something like that.
So, Murph, your record got broken.
Supposedly.
And when you say supposedly, do you feel like he didn't have good reps? He didn't have the right official? What was your argument with it?
I'm just not going to do this. I think really from these home records, the thing that I'm noticing a lot of, like there's this humongous peak in like these people doing like, oh, I did the back squat 500-pound mile and shit, and like things like at home Murph and stuff like that. It's really cool, but it's really hard to judge and film it and really call it a record unless we're all together. So that's why I was gonna have like a I don't know. I was going to call it the Memorial Day Championships because the people who own the rights to Murph supposedly are very litigious, if you know what I mean.
Oh.
I raised a bunch of money for supporting troops. They were not supportive.
Who owns it? I didn't know someone owns it.
Somebody bought it off. I think his father. I'm not. Don't anybody get upset with me because that's not the hard facts. But somebody supposedly bought the rights to it.
So will you try to break the record that's been broken of yours?
Probably not. I'm more actually
It's
interested.
so fun to do, though.
I know, but I'm more interested in competing. If I'm only
Yeah.
going to do this for a couple more years, I really want to finish competing. And I also do want to set a bunch of other world records, because I think one thing that's really interesting about world records is, like, if we're all going to have this conversation of who's the fittest, you can't deny world records. You just can't. Like, remember when you were trying to make a big push for trying to, like, make world records for all the girls?
Yeah.
You can't deny it. Like, it's just the world record. So
I need somebody to help me with that. I can't do that myself.
Dude, you could probably just get some 15-year-old that's a CrossFit junkie.
I need a 15-year-old CrossFit junkie. Please message me. We want to create a website that is all the records and compile the records for the CrossFit workouts, so that people can try to knock off times and knock off records, because all of the records are hearsay, and there's stuff like, oh, I saw a guy, people post on YouTube, I have the highest box jump ever, and they'll title it that, and it's like, no, there's someone right here with the higher one. Or I don't know why you think a 54-inch box jump is the highest when there's guys going like 68 inches or whatever it is. So I'd like to compile it and have like a system, kind of like Guinness, where you send in your thing, it has to be filmed, it has to be.
Well, that's the thing. I'll tell you also, after attempting all these world records, like, and setting some of them, Guinness Book of World Records is probably the shittiest establishment in the planet as far as it comes to being, like, you know, a fair, and it's 100% a monetary based company.
They're good at yanking stuff off of Instagram, though.
What?
They're good. Every time I steal a video from them, they yank it off Instagram.
Yeah, they're probably protecting their intellectual property and want to monetize it.
So OCR Stars, are you in the middle of it right now?
No. My event, OCR Stars, goes off November 1st, and then
starts November 1st.
Starts November 1st. Last
So you
sign-up
have to
date is that Saturday by noon PST. So,
and how many events are in it this year?
3 events, but we're gonna make a partnership. There's a couple huge brands that we're making partnerships with. We're gonna have like some bonus events in the middle of it, so you can earn some like really cool shit for your gym or just personally. And
what were the 3? Was it 5 events or 3 events last year?
There was 4 events.
What were they?
2 running events, and we did 2 gym events. So we did a 1 mile event on the track. We called it whatever the 1 mile track events. Then we did gripper chipper, which was, I think, 200-foot farmer carry, 150-foot lunge with the same 50-pound dumbbells, 35 for women, into 50 toe to bar, into 25 burpee pull-ups. That was a savage one. I think we finished that in like 4 minutes. Then we did the 6 mile time trial, which was meant to be like a great endurance test.
That's the one I commented that they wouldn't use my commentator.
You got to work on that.
I don't have to work on it. I would say that was one of my best pieces of work in the history of my comedy career.
It probably is. It's just the interesting thing that I'm recognizing, and I'm kind of like,
sponsors don't like funny.
Dude, that's the one thing. Like, you can become an independent and be a savage and be very interesting and like very outspoken, very wild, and you can create a lot of interesting attention around yourself, and you have to find a way to monetize that. Or you can be this.
You do, but you have to be massive and big. You have to be like Dan Blitzerian or Joe Rogan or something like that.
You have to completely monetize it and create it underneath your own. Set yourself up for success if you're going to go that route. Or you can be the PG-13. I'm, the goody two shoes guy, and set yourself up for success that way. And you can't ride both of those things. You're going to get yourself in trouble. But this year we have 3 events, kind of like the CrossFit Open. And then our plan is to have a solid event next year, like an actual physical event. And, we've been promoting it like crazy, basically, because we're trying to bring back up the OCR sport. Like, we definitely took a massive hit because of COVID, and all of our stuff's participant-based.
Are any of the Tough Mudder or like Joe DeSena, are they helping you at all? Do they think this is a good thing?
Not really. I've actually gotten a lot of kickback from them. They're like, why would I help what you're doing? I'm like, because I'm trying to help the community. Like, you guys are small-minded to think. I remember one company, which is a pretty big one, when I asked them to help me, they're like, no, that's to directly compete with ours. And I was like, it's not. Like, you guys really have struggled the entire time you've been around to be a competitive thing. And I think if we can mutually support each other on this, you're going to get more recognition for what you're trying to do. Mm-hmm. And that's the problem with our sport is, like, CrossFit is this gigantic company, and there's a bunch of people going underneath it, and they always look to CrossFit for answers. Yeah. Whereas our sport is like all of these tiny competing companies that have no center. And I'm not going to lie, like, it's the reason why our sport has really never had the opportunity for big success like CrossFit has. And if I can make an impression on our sport, I think it starts with having this really easy barrier for entry OCR Stars globalized experience where we can highlight a lot of the athletes. We can introduce a lot of the people who are unaware of our sport, bring in better sponsors, and give better opportunities.
So what are they? How much does it cost to do OCR Stars?
40 bones.
Spend $40. They do the 3 workouts. They do them online,
Yep.
just like the CrossFit Games,
Just like the CrossFit Games. Our stuff is, it'd be almost identical to their system. You go through Competition Corner, you make a little profile, just like you had to do through the CrossFit Games. When you're recording your running events, you record it on Strava. It's the #1 GPS analytics company in the entire world for endurance sports. And beyond that, you just put it in and you get put into the system.
How much can they win?
It's 3,000, 2,000, 1,000 for pros, male and female, and then team division, which is all male, all female, and then co-ed needs at least one woman. That's 1,750, 500.
And then isn't there a drawing for a Jeep?
A Yeep. Yeah, I wanted to make sure, like, one thing I wanted to do is if I was going to make this happen, like a big impression I wanted to do was I wanted to do something nobody else in the industry had done. So if I set the bar high, then these other companies are going to have to chase this. And if I continue to be successful, I'm just all of a sudden, like, rising tides raise all ships. And so what I wanted to do this year was give away a car. So that's why it's, rather than like the Open's $20, we did $40, because obviously we have to afford the experience of giving somebody a car. We can't give people a car over in Europe, so you're just going to have to take the monetary value of it. But, that's still a pretty fucking good deal for signing up for $40.
Yeah.
Like right now, if you signed up...
What kind of car is it?
It's a Jeep Renegade.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, it's a good car. Super good car. Right now, if you signed up, it'd be basically like, it'd basically be the easiest raffle in your entire life. But our numbers are continuing to grow, so obviously that's going to scale pretty aggressively.
So who won it last year?
Lauren Weeks is a female, and she holds the world record for Hyrox, so she's a really, really well-rounded athlete, and she's coming, top 10, top 5 even in a lot of the national series events for Spartan Race, so she's super talented, well-versed. And then the other guy was this guy named Sergey out of Russia, who's super freak fast and, like, very good with calisthenics.
Have you raced him in at competitions?
I don't know if I think I raced Sergey in OCR WC, and I got him for the most part, but it was one time I got DQ'd.
And then aren't you doing a beer mile, or is that over?
Beer mile, literally, by the time you post this thing, it's probably not going to be able to help anybody, but you have until noon PST tomorrow.
Yeah, it'll be over, but it won't be posted. No.
It's so interesting. People are coming in so soft on this beer mile. I'm like, dude, just go and drink 4 beers and run hard. Like, all you do is work out anyways.
I tell people that I've done that, and they're like, oh my God, that sounds so hard. I'm like, it's fucking easy. But then I'm like, I've done it like 3 times. It's hard.
It's $1,000 for first place, both male and female.
How many people have done it?
Probably a half dozen on each side.
That's it?
Dude, I don't get why.
And they're going to get $1,000.
Yeah.
What's the best time so far?
6:25
Fuck,
for male.
that's good.
I know, 6:25 for males. There's 2 guys just tied, so now they're competing against each other, and I think it's like 8:30 for girls.
I'm going to text Corey and tell him that
dude, you should. Like, honestly, I would connect anybody with this and just be like, you should just go out. Like, he could literally sleep halfway through this thing for 2 minutes and still win.
Let me see. Let's see if I get Corey in here. Corey's the world record holder of the beer mile. He could go do it in his sleep and win $1,000.
It's a pretty good deal, guys and girls.
I'm going to tell him.
Eddie, you're going to have to sign up this year. You didn't participate last year.
I think we should do a beer mile next year, and it should be the official WODcast. We can do it with OCR Stars. We'll sponsor it, and it'll be... But it's going to have to be...
I just met one of the owners of Santa Monica Brewing Company.
It's got to be a big deal. It's got to be funny, and like you get points for creativity. You get points for like doing like if you shotgun a beer, you get bonus 5 seconds off each. We'll come up with a whole category. And
I bought the website mountainmanrunning.com because I'm planning on starting an endurance series up at my cabin, and I just became friends with the brewery up there, and I just became friends with...
Are they white supremacists?
There's a lot of Trump 2024 flags up there.
Yeah, I know. It's very scary.
It's hysterical, dude. It's like, fuck Biden, he ain't my president.
Yeah.
Every time I see this.
I just did a show where half the audience was like liberals and the half were conservatives, and they started fighting in the show.
Where were you, Huntington Beach?
Las Vegas.
That's awesome.
It was scary, and I had to tell the whole audience, I'm like, you're all stupid, and none of you understand this anyway, so stop arguing about shit you don't get. Like, you're not smart enough to get this, and it's all WWE. I'm like, do you think any of these people, Trump, Biden, Clintons, do you think they give a fuck about you? Shut up. Yep. Shut up. You're just keeping them supported.
The WWE is so good, dude. Those guys are still making more money than the UFC guys. Like, Brock Lesnar made $12 million last year.
Wow.
Fucking A.
They hurt their bodies, though.
I should have taken that. Yeah, but,
What happened to you when you trained for that?
I didn't train for it. I just showed up and did it.
What'd you do?
I tried out. I did the tryout. So you physically go through some stuff, and then you do you do your pitch at the end, your speech in front of everybody.
How hard was it?
Not that hard at all.
And then why didn't you get it?
I got the offer. I turned it down.
Why?
Because it was $50,000 a year. Originally, they offered me around $100,000 a year, and I could step in, and I could I had an opportunity to go in. And then the second guy came and had a conversation with me. He's like, they were like, we're basically going to offer you this, but I want you to know it's $50,000 all in. We own your name for the rest of your life. You're basically going to have to fold chairs and mop floors and shit like that. And I was like, no.
Yeah.
I was traveling the world at the time. Still am traveling the world at the time, having a blast, getting to go over to Europe and have a ton of fun there and live in Malibu.
You, the way you are, you could have in a few years.
Dude, I know completely I could have had a really great opportunity, but it just, to me, at the time, wasn't worth it. I would always go.
You could have been like the Bonnie Rotten of Bonnie got into porn, and she told me, she goes, when I got into porn, I said, I'm going to be a star. I'm going to be the biggest person in the business. And she's like, and then I'm getting out. And she did. She got to the AVNs. She won the Performer of the Year.
Does she just OnlyFans now?
Quit. Yeah. That's all she does.
Makes crazy money.
Shoots lots of guns. She likes to go shoot guns.
Legend.
She's into tactical games and stuff.
No, good for her, dude. Good for her. All right, listen, I'm counting on you to sign up this year for OCR Stars.
No,
why don't you just do some of the events with us?
Because I'm not in good shape for that.
Do you know how many years you and I have known each other, and you're always creating reasons why you're not in good shape?
I went 68 miles with you. You should leave me alone after that.
Listen, did you just fart?
Yeah.
It did.
I have to take a dump, and if I don't shit, it's going to come out my pants.
Listen, I just want you guys to know that this is the unfittest podcast host. No, actually, Eddie's done a lot of impressive things with me, and I'm going to drag you through some of the filming things that we do. And you could
I'll do it.
Do a PG-13 version of the recording of last year.
It was so good.
I know. I'll have the audio sent over. And you could broadcast it on here.
Slightly racist.
Yeah, if you guys want to broadcast it on here, I appreciate you having me on.
Well, thanks for doing it, and I think everybody should sign up for OCR Stars because you could win a Jeep for that reason only. $40, and you got a good chance of winning a Jeep. And when you said only a few people have done the beer mile, I was like, oh, I'll sign up for that, and I'm like, no, I'm not gonna. To win $1,000, I'd do it for $1,000. If you said, "Hey, go do a beer mile right now for $1,000," I'd go do it right now. However, I'm never gonna. I can't run a mile in 6.5 minutes, so I'm not gonna do it with 4 beers. If you said break 10.5, I'll give you $1,000. I'll go do it right now. But you already owe me $1,000 for charity.
Never gonna get that money.
Would you lose?
You
you lost the beer mile.
I lost the beer mile.
I gotta find that video.
Laps in.
I gotta find that video. He threw up not even 2 laps in.
No.
In your second lap.
Yeah. I went so fucking fast.
Yeah.
I cooked.
Yeah, hilarious. Hey, well, thanks for doing the show. You guys know what to do. Rate, review, comment, iTunes. Check out the YouTube. Got a whole new website being built right now. All kinds of exciting stuff. Getting a new studio built. We're going to be doing this. It's not going to look amateurish on YouTube. It's going to be like the best cameras, the best backdrops, and we always have the best guests here. Appreciate you guys listening. If you want to come see me live this week, or San Diego, La Jolla, I'll be there the 21st to the 24th in San Diego. In La Jolla, and I'm working out. I might be doing a show at some CrossFit gym down there too. And like I said, if you ever want to hire me to come to your CrossFit gym, do a show, or get all your members and community to come out to one of my shows, we'll take care of it. Just let me know. Send me a message. I can do. You can do it as a fundraiser for your gym, and we can split it. Whatever you want to do. Contact me at wadcastpodcast@yahoo.com. And other dates coming up. I'm in Naples, Florida. I'm in Wilmington, North Carolina. I'm in Key West, Florida. This is all through November. I'm in Edmonton, Canada. I'm in, what's the other one? Reno, Nevada. And then I finish up in, I think, Las Vegas again. But check out all my dates at eddieifft.com and go to Hunter to sign up for OCR Stars. It's OCRstars.com.
Hell yeah, baby.
Or go to Hunter's Academy of Strength and use some of Hunter's programming. I've used his programming before. It's excellent. I steal it now to use it on my nephew. Yeah, check out Hunter's Academy of Strength.com.
Yep, housetraining.com.
Housetraining, HAOS.com. Thank you, Hunter, and good night, everybody.